So it's not a secret that I kind of don't like survival games. But from time to time, I stumble upon the games that really change my perception of that genre. And well, I guess this might be one of them. And in this video, we're going to be discussing whether Long Dark is actually worth it to buy right now, years upon years after its release, and whether you should buy it and play it or not. So, without further ado, let's just get it started. As always, for the ones who knows what Long Dark is and just want straightforward answer to not waste any more of your time, the answer is yes, absolutely yes, 100% yes. If you don't have a Long Dark, if you have never played Long Dark, if you never even heard about Long Dark, go and get the game. If you love survival games, go and get the game. If you don't like survival games, go and get the game, because you're going to enjoy this game just because of its story and atmosphere. So yeah, it is 100% worth it. But now let's get into the details. So what is Long Dark? Well, Long Dark is the survival game in the exact interpretation. This game is exactly about survival. Unlike other survival games that are expanding into some unknown territories, which is nothing like survival and just transforming into just a regular RPGs. Here, it's literally about the survival. There's no progressions, there are no level ups, there are no legendary recipes that you need to unlock, there is no base building, nothing like that. This game is literally about the survival. So game is happening in Canadian Arctic wilderness, and your goal is just that: to survive. Game has two main modes. One is the story mode and the second one is survival mode, and the basic gameplay, of course, in both of them is exactly the same. However, in the story mode, you are, well, going through the episodic story, which consists of 5 episodes at the moment of the recording, and it is, well, pretty, well, kind of like a linear. While in survival mode, you are actually choosing which region to play and how challenging you want the game to be. Let's quickly discuss the survival mode first and then get to the story mode, because story mode is where the meat of this game actually is. Also, when you start the survival mode, you are given a choice of a region. Basically, where do you want to start playing your game? The entire world of the game is actually one giant world that you can actually move between the different regions, but you are choosing your starter region. And different regions have different difficulty because they have different amount of resources, they have different terrains and different enemies that you need to actually, well, survive against. There are 10 plus regions, and overall the territory of the game is, well, rather pretty large. And the gameplay loop is actually very simple, and it's just stripped down to the most elementary levels. So entire game is about the surviving, and surviving is all about controlling 4 different gauges. First is the temperature gauge, because you need to stay warm in the Arctic wilderness, especially during the nights, because, well, nights are long, hence the name Long Dark. Second is the rest meter, meaning that you need to actually rest and get some sleep, because, well, you cannot be active all the time. Third is the water gauge, because you need to stay hydrated, and it's actually pretty difficult to stay hydrated while every single water source around you is frozen. And last but not least is food. Basically, well, you need to eat in order to have some calories to, well, function as a living being. Of course, last but not least is your health gauge. So yeah, basically the simplest thing that you can actually have. And your overall goal is just to control these 4 gauges to, well, stay alive. To stay alive, you need to go out into wild and, well, do things to survive, basically. There is no building, there is no base building and things like that, and if you want to sleep, you need to find a good dry place to sleep, set a campfire, and, well, sleep there, and just be careful to not get eaten. And if you want a campfire, you need to go around and find different type of wood just to, well, set a campfire. If you want water, you can find a few water sources, because there are a few scattered, well, villages kinda in the game, but they're all abandoned except for the story mode. And there are not a lot of water sources there as well. So you need to actually, well, set a campfire and collect the snow and just melt the snow just, well, on a fire. And last but not least is, of course, the food. And as you may guess, the food in Arctic wilderness is pretty difficult to come by. You can actually, well, scavenge some villages, but eventually those resources will run out. And after that, you need to find some wild food. As an example, you can go hunting, which is not easy. And this constant struggle to stay, well, alive just makes this game incredibly interesting and tense every single second. Plus, in the game, you have enemies as well, and the enemies is, well, actually the wild itself. There are a few wild animals that will try to kill you when they, well, either provoked by you or just by seeing you, depending on the difficulty level that you chose. There are wolves and bears and mooses that will try to kill you just either by defending themselves or just, well, might as well spite, I guess. And because you don't have a lot of weapons at your disposal, it's actually pretty difficult to, well, combat these enemies, and your main goal is just to try hitting as much as possible. All of those things just adds like real survival flair to this game. You are literally surviving in this game. Plus, because of the game's very beautiful art style, which I don't think that will ever get old, this game just looks insanely beautiful and insanely atmospheric. Each region has their own distinct flair, even though at the first sight it's just, well, hills covered by snow, or houses covered by snow, or trees covered by snow, but in reality they have very distinct flair to each other, and it all makes a real survival experience that you will play for a really long time just to see how long you can just push through. And what is insane and amazing is that you actually need to constantly move in your journeys, because, well, the resources in this game are finite, and eventually you will exhaust the resources of your immediate surroundings, and you need to move further and further and further into territories just to find more resources just to survive a few hours or sometimes even a few minutes longer. But where this game really shines and where this game actually just hooked me is its story mode. Yes, the overall survival mode is actually very interesting because you really have a goal that is, well, challenging to achieve, which is surviving itself. Unlike other survival games where surviving is actually not that difficult, it's getting on higher and higher levels that is difficult. Here, the surviving is difficult, but with the story mode, you have an additional goal, and this additional goal is just surviving with a story. So with the story mode, you have a structured story about how you actually got into this wilderness and what you're actually doing there and how you can actually get out of there. It's nothing exceptionally amazing, but in a tandem with its gameplay, this transforms the story into incredibly interesting and tense story. So just to give you a very minor spoilers, which is happening literally within the first few minutes of the game, you are a pilot in the wilderness of Alaska, and your ex-wife is coming to you asking to deliver a package with you in, well, some remote village in Canada. And, well, you go on a plane and some type of electromagnetic pulse or something like this happen, and your plane just crash, and your goal is basically to survive after the plane crash and just get out of there. The first thing that I saw in the story mode, and it won't be a big thing for everyone, but it was a very big thing for me, is when I heard the voices of the protagonists. Two of them actually, male and female. And when I heard the voice, I was like immediately, okay, this is the voice of the Commander Shepard. And, well, it was actually the voice of the Commander Shepard. And when the ex-wife came in and she started talking, I was like, oh, wait, that's a female Commander Shepard. And, well, lo and behold, they're both actually Commander Shepard. And that was actually a very cool thing for me, like, because I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. Well, that's just a small thing for me, and I'm pretty sure it will be important for some of you as well. And there are 5 episodes in a story, and you progress through the story as you progress to different regions and unlock the mystery of whatever is happening in this territory, in this wilderness of this Arctic Canada, and you're just discovering things and finding out what is happening around you and where are everyone and what literally and also what happened with you and why you actually plane crashed. And the story is pretty engaging and pretty interesting, and in conjunction with survival elements, the gameplay is actually very cool and interesting. The game will take around 30 hours, like 25 to 30 hours to complete the story if you're just taking your time and going through everything. And it's actually a pretty amazing experience. And if you're just continue playing the survival, well, that's an additional at least 100 hours. It's insane how much value that you can get from this game. Now, let's go to the main question of this video. Is it worth it, and how much will it cost? So game is available on Steam for the base price of $34.99 for tier 1 countries and $16.49 for tier 2 countries, and it can go as low as $6.79 for tier 1 countries and $1.87 for tier 2 countries. Granted that these low prices were around a year ago, and right now you're gonna see around the double of the lowest prices right now on a discount. So is it actually worth any of these prices despite the game's age? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is one of the rare games that is actually worth it for the full price as well, even right now, years after its release. However, you should not get this game on a full price. Not that it's not worth it, but because the game is actually pretty old and you can get this game for a much lower price. It's not about whether it's worth it or not, it's all about making a good financial decision. And the good financial decision will be to wait for a sale, because it's inevitably gonna happen. And for the discounted price, no matter what price you're getting, it's 100% worth it. You are not gonna regret buying this game if you like story-driven, narrative-driven games, or if you like the survival games. It's not, if you're expecting something like an Ark and you want a giant dinosaurs and giant buildings fighting with a bunch of other enemies, then no, this is not what you're gonna get. This is literal survival game. It's all about the surviving. And if you want something like that, you are gonna get this here. You are gonna get the survival experience here. However, I'm gonna give you a disclaimer here. I actually played this game on the Game Pass, and by the moment of uploading this video, this game will not be available on a Game Pass anymore. So that's an unfortunate. This was actually one of the gems of a Game Pass, both on PC and on consoles. So overall verdict is this. Long Dark is absolutely worth it, and this is one of the experiences that you must go through in order to, well, understand what survival games actually mean. Even if you hate survival games, you're going to enjoy the story of this game with its 5 episodes, because yeah, it actually gives you the goals and gives you a direction where you need to go without wandering aimlessly trying to understand what you need to do. Here, you will know exactly what you need to do, and you know exactly where you need to go next, without actually hand-holding you in every step of the way. So yeah, go and get this game, do not miss this gem, and have fun doing this. Well, this will be it for today. Thanks for being here with me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya!